Okay? Follow Yahshua. Let's turn to Luke chapter 9. When he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases, and he sent them to preach the kingdom of Yahweh and to heal the sick. He said unto them, take nothing for your journey, neither staves, nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither have 2 coats apiece. And whatsoever house you enter into, there abide, and thence depart. Whosoever will not receive you when you go out of the city, shake off the very dust from your feet for testimony against them. And they departed and went throughout the towns, preaching the gospel and healing everywhere. Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by him, and he was perplexed, because that it was said of some that John was risen from the dead, and of some that Elias had appeared, and of others that one of the old prophets had risen again. And Herod said, John have I beheaded, but who is this of whom I hear such things? And he desired to see him. And the apostles, when they were returned, told him all that they had done. And they took them and went aside privately into a desert place belonging to the city of Bethsaida. And the people, when they knew it, followed him. And he received them, and spoke unto them of the kingdom of Yahweh, and healed them that had need of healing. And when the day began to wear away, they came, the 12, and said unto him, send the multitude away, that they may go into the towns and country round about, and lodge, and get victuals, for we are here in a desert place. But he said unto them, give you them to eat. They said, we have no more but 5 loaves and 2 fishes, except we should go and buy meat for all this people. For they were about 5,000 men. That's not including the women. And he said to his disciples, make them sit down by 50s in a company. And they did so, and made them all sit down. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looked up to heaven. He blessed them, and broke, and gave to the disciples to set before the multitude. And they did eat, and were all filled, and there was taken up of fragments that remained to them 12 baskets. And it came to pass, as he was alone praying, his disciples were with him. And he asked them, saying, whom say the people that I am? They answered and said, John the Baptist, but some say Elias, and others say that one of the old prophets is risen again. He said unto them, but whom say you that I am? And Peter answered and said, the Messiah of Yahweh. And straitly charged them, and commanded them to tell no man that thing, saying, the Son of Man must suffer in many things, and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised the 3rd day. And he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his stake, and follow me. For whosoever shall save his life shall lose it, but whomsoever shall lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantage, if he gain the whole world, and lose himself, or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory, and in his Father's, and of the holy angels. But I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death, till they see the kingdom of Yahweh. And it came to pass about 8 days after these sayings, He took Peter and John and James and went up into a mountain to pray. And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered. His raiment was white and glistening. And behold, there talked with him 2 men, which were Moses and Elias, who appeared in glory and spoke of his decease, which he should accomplish at Jerusalem. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep. And when they were awake, they saw his glory, and the 2 men that stood with him. And it came to pass, as they departed from him, Peter said unto Yahshua, Master, it is good for us to be here. And let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elias, not knowing what he said. While he thus spoke, there came a cloud and overshadowed them, and they feared as they entered into the cloud. And there came a voice out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. When the voice was past, Yahshua was found alone, and they kept it close and told no man in those days any of those things which they had seen. And it came to pass that on the next day, when they were come down from the hill, much of the people met him. And behold, a man of the company cried out, saying, Master, I beseech thee, look upon my son, for he is my only child. And lo, a spirit takes him, and he suddenly cries out, and it tears him that he foams again, and bruise him hardly departing from him. And I besought thy disciples to cast him out, and they could not. And Yahshua answered and said, O faithless and perverse generations, how long shall I be with you and suffer you? Bring thy son here. And as he was yet a-coming, the devil threw him down and tear him. And Yahshua rebuked the unclean spirit and healed the child and delivered him again to his father. And they were all amazed at the mighty power of Yahweh. But while they wondered, every one at all things which Yahshua did, he said unto his disciples, Let these sayings sink down into your ears. For the Son of Man shall be delivered into the hands of men. But they understood not this saying, and it was hid from them, that they perceived it not. And they feared to ask him of that saying. Then there arose a reasoning among them, which of them should be greatest. And Yahshua, perceiving the thought of their hearts, took a child and set him by him. And he said unto them, Whosoever shall receive this child in my name receives me. Whosoever shall receive me receives him that sent me. For he that is least among you all, the same shall be great. And John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he follows not with us. And Yahshua said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. And it came to pass, when the time was come that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face, and they went and entered into the village of the Samaritans, to make ready for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Master, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did? But he turned and rebuked them and said, You know not what manner of spirit you are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. And it came to pass that as they went in the way, a certain man said to him, Master, I will follow thee wheresoever thou goest. And Yahshua said unto him, Foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has not where to lay his head. And he said unto another, Follow me. But he said, Master, suffer me first to go and bury my father. Yahshua said unto him, Let the dead bury their dead, but go thou and preach the kingdom of Yahweh. Another also said, Master, I will follow thee, but let me first go and bid them farewell, which are at home at my house. And Yahshua said unto him, No man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of Yahweh. What does the call to follow Yahshua mean to you? Is it something you heard long time ago and that's now faded away as the years have gone by? Or is it something that you hear afresh every day? Today we're going to look at the passages from Luke's Gospel where the call to follow Yahshua rings out loud and clear, and we will see a number of different responses to that call. In Luke 9, verse 51, and it came to pass when the time was come that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem. Yahshua had a clear sense of his purpose on earth. He knew that his time was short, and that it wouldn't be long before his work was complete. He also knew that his work would come to its fulfillment in Jerusalem. The NIV says he resolutely set out for Jerusalem. There's an intentionality there that's expressed quite strongly. He's going to Jerusalem to fulfill Yahweh's plan for him and for all humanity. And as he starts off, he approaches a Samaritan village, and so he sends messengers ahead to prepare for the way for him. No doubt they tell the people that Yahshua is planning to stay there on his way to Jerusalem. Now, if you know anything about the relationships between the Jews and the Samaritans at this point in history, you will realize that this was a very gracious thing for Yahshua to do. You see, what he was doing was including the Samaritans in his mission. He might well have bypassed them, but no, he sets out to stay with them, to include them in the fulfillment of Yahweh's plan of salvation. But what was their response? They reject him. They don't want to be part of anyone who set their face to go to Jerusalem. So here we see the first type of response to Yahshua's call to follow him, to join him on the way to the stake. One response of people to call of Yahshua is rejection. But not only do we see that, but we also see a danger of rejection. The danger of rejection isn't what James and John, the sons of thunder, had in mind. It isn't that Yahweh will strike us down on the spot. It's more subtle than that. But nevertheless, it's just as daunting. The danger of rejection is that Yahshua will let us have our way. He never forces us to accept him. He just goes on to another village. In other words, if you choose to ignore the call of Yahshua, he will let you. It's a bit scary. It's a bit like the child who throws a tantrum. Some parents have learned that the best way to deal with a tantrum is to walk out of the room. Because when the child realizes their bluff has been called, they stop screaming. The aim of the tantrum is to get the parent to try harder to please the child. But if the child is left to scream without an audience, they soon give up. Well, it's a bit more serious when it comes to Yahshua's call. Those who reject Yahshua find themselves like that child, left alone. Well, what a terrible thing it must be to find yourself ignored by the living Elohim. Left to your own devices, without Yahweh to call on when you find yourself in trouble. But that's what happens here. We are told that they went to another village. So Yahshua moves on, and as he's walking down the road, someone comes up to him and says, I'll follow you wherever you go. Here's someone who recognizes Yahshua as a great leader and who wants to follow him. But the only trouble is he hasn't really thought about what following Yahshua entails, and he is almost as flippant about the comment. A superficial desire to be in on the excitement of Yeshua's mission without first considering the cost of the commitment. Yahshua doesn't want superficial commitment. He wants deep commitment based on a clear understanding of what following him entails. He says, foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Elsewhere, he tells his followers that to follow him entails taking up their stake. That's being ready to die for Yeshua's sake. The call to follow Yahshua isn't an easy thing. It involves being at odds with the world, possibly at the cost of our own lives. But just because Yahshua rebukes this man doesn't mean he doesn't want people to follow him. Because he then turns to another man and says, follow me. This man understands what Yahshua is asking, but he asks that he first be allowed to go bury his father. He's asking if he can leave the decision to later, when his father died and he no longer has that family responsibility. But Yahshua says, no, this is a call that takes first priority. The priority of commitment to Yahshua overrides even the priority of caring for your father. How many people are there who use their responsibility to their family as an excuse for not serving Yahweh with all their heart and soul and strength? How many people are there who use family responsibilities as an excuse for not worshiping regularly with Yahweh's people? As an excuse for remaining fringe members of a congregation rather than active core members. But Yahshua says, let the dead bury their own dead. But as for you, go and proclaim the kingdom of Yahweh. The priority of commitment to Yahshua comes about not just because Yahshua is master of all, though that's a good start. It also comes about because people are dying. When he talks of the dead burying the dead, he's saying those who haven't heard the gospel are as good as dead. They need the gospel to bring them back to life. And what's the point of caring for your father if, in the end, he suffers eternal death? It's much better way to care for him is to proclaim the kingdom of Yahweh to him, to tell him of Yeshua's offer of forgiveness and new life. The same applies to our next-door neighbors, our brothers and sisters, our cousins and nephews and nieces. Telling them the good news of Yahshua is by far the best way to care for them. And finally, another person comes up to Yahshua and says, I will follow you, Master, but let me first say farewell to those at my home. Sounds like a reasonable request, doesn't it? I'm ready to sign up, but first let me say my farewells. To this person, Yahshua gives what seems to be his harshest response yet. He says, no one who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of Yahweh. He seems to be saying, this call is so urgent that you don't even need or have the time to explain to your nearest and dearest where you are going. But it's even more serious than that. I think what he's saying is that this call is a call to a lifelong commitment. It's a call that can't be put off, and it's a call that can, once taken up, must not be put down. It's no use deciding to follow Yahshua and then reverting every now and then to your old lifestyle. It's no use committing your life to Yahshua and a few years later deciding you've done enough and someone else can take over now. You see, when I look around, most of the congregation is retired. From paid employment, that is. But you haven't retired from life. In fact, most people I know who are retired are busier now than they were when they were being paid. But the question is, are you busy doing Yahweh's work? Are you still committed to following Yahshua along the way of the stake? As far as I can see, there's no biblical precedent for retiring from the ministry. We can all continue to minister for Yahshua until our dying breath. Yeshua's call to go and proclaim the kingdom of Yahweh continues to apply to us throughout our lives. And the imperative just gets greater as the older you get. Because let's face it, the time left to you is getting shorter. It's said the older people are the harder it is for them to become believers. Yet they need to find Messiah just as much as those who are young. And who are these people they're most likely to hear about Yahshua from? It's those in their own age group with whom they mix. So the imperative to proclaim the kingdom of Yahweh never stops being relevant. The call to be single-minded as a servant of Yahweh never ceases. Yeshua's words maintain their relevance throughout our lives. No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of Yahweh. So how are you responding to Yahweh's call at this point in your life? You might be one who is rejecting his call to commitment, one who is just going through the motions of congregation membership. If that's the case, then heed the warning of this message. If you reject Yahshua, he might just let you have your way. Are you one who hasn't really thought through the cost of commitment? If you are, then be aware that commitment to Yahshua entails committing all you are and all you have to his service. Have you taken on board the priority of Yeshua's call over all the other calls in your life for your time and energy? Have you made Yeshua's call the first priority? And finally, have you committed yourself to Yahshua for life? Just like in marriage, till death do us part. Are you prepared to continue as his servant until your dying breath? The rewards for service to Yeshua are great, but the demand on that service is equally stringent. So be one who is totally and permanently committed to serving Yeshua and proclaiming the kingdom of Yahweh to those around you. Yahweh bless.